Liveline on RTE Radio 1, sponsored by Harry Curry. Bring a little sunshine indoors with the exciting new arrivals in-store or online at harrycurry.com.
0818 715 815.
Hello, good afternoon, and you're very welcome to Liveline. 51551 is our text number, and Joe at RT.ie. You've heard all the words: abhorrent, distressing, unacceptable, appalling. Lots of hand wringing inside the Dáil, outside the Dáil, lots of letter writing, no doubt, to the newspapers about what they saw on prime time last night. That is Shannonside Foods in Straffan, a very busy part of the country. People would know it, I presume, from the K Club. Shannonside Foods is on the River Morel, and the images that were shown of horses being cruelly treated, being beaten by a plastic flexible pipe, being prodded by pitchforks. Now, what can be done? Dervla, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe.
And Dervla, first of all, you should be congratulated, because you are the one who alerted RTE to the story.
Yes, Joe. A couple of years ago, myself and a friend of mine who have a small part to play in the industry,
okay,
but we noticed some irregularities with the passport system, and we also noticed a huge amount of horses that were disappearing. So we decided to take it upon ourselves to delve a little bit deeper.
Well done.
And firstly, I'd just like to say we're not journalists and we're not investigators. We're just two normal people who have a huge love of horses.
Okay.
And we do have some small involvement in owning and loving our own horses.
Okay.
And we just felt that overall there's not enough respect for the horse, and the horse has no voice. And we should have the belief and the confidence in the authorities and the government that they should respect the welfare of the horse and impose harsher and stricter penalties and prompt penalties to owners, trainers and dealers and anybody who seem to breach the rules of welfare. So the sad conclusion was that we noticed that so many horses were going missing. So we started to look to see where they were going, and we submitted questions to the Oireachtas to get the slaughter figures, and we noticed some irregularities in the figures that were being given. So then we started to look in welfare groups across Europe and even as far as America to see who was buying these horses, who they were ending up with.
Okay.
And fortunately, we were able to make contact with some of the new owners. And we discovered that a huge amount of the horses were arriving overseas in horrendous conditions. And then when they would be purchased from dealerships overseas, the new owners were trying to trace what yards these horses had come from and what care could be given from the previous owners and trainers in helping with the rehoming. So I took it upon myself to contact a huge amount of trainers and previous owners. Some, I will say, were excellent.
Okay.
They gave me the information that I asked for. They told me the feeds the horses had been on, the care, any previous injuries, etc. But some of them, they didn't want to know. So I then told some of them the condition that these horses had turned up in, why were they there. One trainer in particular, who I will not name, was excellent. Straight away admitted, had made a huge mistake, would never do the same again, was horrified when I was able to provide them with photographs that the horse had been sold on in, and gave me their word that they would never ever trade the horse again to a dealer, and that they would only do home euthanasia should that situation arise, and they would work with the authorities for future rehoming.
Okay.
So that was all great. But then we discovered that there was so much more that wasn't being done. And the sad conclusion came to us that why were two normal people like us the ones that discovered this? All this was there in front of the authorities for years. And if two people on the fringes of the industry could hear all these rumours that were circulating for years and about the horrendous waste, particularly in big yards, it defies belief that the authorities with so many of them with their feet on the ground and in the heart of the industry, failed to hear or see what was unfolding.
And when... Okay, well, we know there's only one slaughterhouse for horses in Ireland. It's in Straffan. It's run by Shannonside Foods. Were you aware of that slaughterhouse?
I was. We didn't really delve towards the slaughterhouse. We were more looking at to see the rehoming, what conditions the horses were being transported in, where were they going, why were the authorities allowing so many to be shipped. Then we noticed the whole issue about the lifetime traceability, which is a huge, chip, it's a good example.
Okay, and in your just come back there to the point that you say you actually managed to get questions asked in Dáil Éireann about this. What can you tell us the nature of your questions, please?
Constantly I submitted questions asking for the slaughter figures, and the Minister on several occasions gave different figures, which I kept notes on. And then I queried again and I said, why were the figures different? Because they weren't matching up.
Okay,
year
what was not matching up?
The figures that he was asked on several occasions in the Dáil by a particular TD who I found most helpful.
Okay.
And the figures didn't match. So, for instance, one year he would say maybe, I'm trying to find my notes, bear with me. He would say a figure, say, of 1,050, and then a couple of months later he'd be asked for previous years, and the figure wasn't matching. And I was thinking, like, this is the Minister of Agriculture. Surely he should have these figures in front of him. They should add up year on year. But they weren't adding up. And I found that astounding. And you were asking how
many live horses were being exported?
I was asking the slaughter figures in Ireland.
Oh, the slaughter figures in Ireland, okay.
And his figures weren't adding up. And then when you look at the amount of horses that are born each year, the amount that he says are slaughtered in Ireland, and then how many. The authorities were asked before. The head of welfare was asked live on RTE radio before, could he give the figures of the amount of horses that died in training yards? And he said no. Now, bear in mind, this is the head of welfare from Horse Racing Ireland. And he stated live on the radio that he didn't know. They didn't hold those figures. Well, why don't they hold those figures, Joe? Look at the money that is given each year to the horse racing industry. Millions. I think it's over 1.3, 1.4 billion since 2000. And they don't have a system where they keep the numbers of horses that have died in training yards. That is astounding, Joe.
Okay, hang on a sec there, Derval, will you? I'll go to Dennis McGrath and I'll come back to you in a sec. Because Horse Racing Ireland, as you know, they were on Morning Ireland. They said they are truly appalled by what they saw last night. But you're saying you raised this issue with the Department of Agriculture, who are the powerful people here. There's no point in talking about, in one sense, about trainers or HRI or whatever. The power resides with the state, with the Department of Agriculture. That's why we pay them. And Derval, what do you think should happen now?
I think definitely everybody needs to be called into question, and the Oireachtas Committee need to have everybody in there to answer. And I think...
But what's going on? Hang on, Derval, what is going on in Straffan today?
Well, wouldn't we all love to know, Joe?
Well, the pictures last night paint 1,000 words. 1,000 words. You know, ill treatment of dying horses. Horses being whipped and struck with long lengths of plastic piping, including being hit around the head. A horse is filmed struggling for hours before it fell, tried to get up many times. The only tension the horse got was the illegal use of a pitchfork in its side. You saw other horses being beaten into this, I presume, which is this container, so to speak, where it was going to be euthanasia. Horses struggling. So let's not mince words here. This is pretty important, and we're not blaming trainers or we're not blaming Horse Racing Ireland, but people want something done about it apart from hand wringing, because we know where the plant is. This is different on this occasion. We know where the plant is. It is in full view down in Straffan, a very busy. I can't believe people in Straffan did they ever spot? Did anyone ever spot anything? It took two people who had a love of horses to go through. I know this is about mistreatment of horses in abattoirs. I didn't say anything else. This is about mistreatment of horses in this lair. It's not in an abattoir. It's in this lairage facility beside it. But the fact is that this plant, as far as we know, is still open. The department, the minister was asked, and 2 hours ago in the Dáil, is this plant still operational today? Is this lairage, this area which he says it's not within their purview, it's in the complex, but it's not within their legal purview. But is this lairage still in operation? Is these other charges that were made in prime time, about which is part of what you discovered, Dervla, in fairness to you and your friend, about microchipping of horses and double microchipping of horses and duplicitous microchipping of horses? Surely that's a crime, given that microchipping is in the statute books. Dennis McGrath, apart from hand wringing, what do you think people should do?
Good afternoon, Joe. Like that lady said, and everybody has commented on, I watched the programme last night, and to say I was appalled and disgusted would be an understatement.
Which is what everyone is saying. So what are we going to do about it?
Well, we need to, first and foremost, that plant down in Straffan needs to be closed immediately. Whoever holds the licence for whatever they're doing, that needs to be revoked. Mm-hmm. The people who were shown on the television last night carrying on with those horses should basically face the rigours of the law, and they should end up in front of the judicial system and pay that penalty that they deserve to pay for something, for scenes that I find completely unacceptable.
Mm. So you're saying the power resides with the Department of Agriculture. They're the ones that give out the licence. They're the ones who have, now be very clear about this, they're the ones who have inspectors in the slaughterhouse. They don't have inspectors in the lairage, and they've no power, I presume, to go into the lairage, which is where this mistreatment was filmed. But there's loads of other angles in this story.
Joe, can I just add, the state of the place, the state of the state of conditions that those horses were placed under, leaving aside the carry on of those idiots who carried on like that, the actual appalling state of the premises has to be called into question. How can you have a vet from,
hang on. The vet from the Department of Agriculture has no jurisdiction, as we were told, over that lairage. Okay, so I don't want anyone named in that respect. Linda, I'll come back to you in a sec, Dennis. But you're saying the department has the power, revoke the licence today, or suspend the licence. Suspend all activity. Suspend all activity in that complex today.
Correct.
Okay. Well, the other thing I want to know is, Dennis. Well, but Linda Green is there. I'll come to you in a second. Linda, Joe at RT.ie 51551. Dennis, where are all the animal rights activists? This place is in full view. We're not being told at an unknown, which is normal what we get, and it's the way legally they have to do it, at an unknown location which you cannot divulge. But this location is in full and open view. Linda Green, yes. Linda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe, yes.
Well, you're going to tell me it's awful. We all know that. What can be done about it? What can be done about it? We know where it is. People live beside this. I presume people drive past it. It's a big complex. I presume people get a smell off it. So what can be done, Linda?
I'm not sure what can be done, but I'm hoping that something can be done, Joe, because like all your other callers there, I'm only after joining here now, sorry. Yeah. All your other callers, I was absolutely
appalled.
Just appalled by everything that I saw last night. And I think everyone that was on in that vicinity when that was shown should be banned from ever going near animals ever
Well, they'd
again.
have to go through the rigours of the process. But maybe some of them that were in full view in that TV programme last night, and they're up on the player, and it's been, the footage apparently has been with the department for over a month. It's been promoted for a number of weeks, so we knew what was coming. We knew where it was. Connor said right from the get-go, it's a place called Shannonside Foods in Straffan in County Kildare. It's not on Rathlin Island in the middle of nowhere that no one could go down and have a go at or stand outside and see what's going in and out just as a concerned citizen. Let me bring in John Fitzgerald, who's been involved in animal rights for years. I think spoke the campaign against cruel sport. John, apart from writing another letter to the paper, which is what you do every day anyway, in fairness to you, and you have at least once, twice a week your letters appear in national newspapers. Apart from doing writing letters, what can animal rights activists do? You're the ones who picket hair coursing meetings.
Absolutely, and I have to admit that I was taken by surprise, even though I've been hearing rumours over the years about adverse conditions in horse slaughterhouses and in the one
there is only one. This is the thing. It's a terrible line. There is only one horse slaughterhouse in Ireland.
There is indeed, and actually, even since last night, I've been talking to various groups, and I think some people may be planning to picket the venue in the coming weeks. But actually, the group I represent would be calling for the immediate closure of that particular slaughterhouse.
Yeah, but everyone is saying that.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd also be calling for is a withdrawal of the subsidies to the entire.
But John, hang on. You know as well as I know that is a much wider and a much bigger debate, and you ain't going to sort it out here today. The question I'm asking you as a well-known and persistent and consistent animal rights activist, and you know all the animal. I'm not advocating, but the picket is a peaceful protest. There's no harm in that. But what do you think should be done about this facility that is in full view? It's about 40 minutes from where I'm sitting, in a very populated part of the country called Straffan in County Kildare, just over the border. What should be done?
I believe it should be closed down immediately because of what we've seen. The malpractice is on such a scale that I think regulation, is kind of meaningless at this stage. And I think it needs to close now. And even people who maybe don't feel very fond of animals are not tuned into the whole animal welfare.
Well, everyone is fond of animals.
But this particular issue,
Okay, Dervla.
Joe, can I just cut in there for a second?
Yeah, of course you can.
I just want to make a point that a huge issue within the industry is that when somebody does call out welfare issues, they're immediately deemed to be anti-racing or anti-industry. Yeah. And that is simply not true. Those within the industry must stand up and call out the welfare issues. But on the point of the slaughterhouse, in the paperwork, in the laws that are there from the Agriculture and Food Development Authority, it covers the facilities and the resources and the handling and the facilities in the large. So it's quite extraordinary that somebody came out and said that it's not under their remit, because it's there in section 5811 that large facilities shall be designed and constructed as to facilitate the inspection of the animals. So it's not up to us, the people within that are calling out. This is a departmental problem.
Okay, and just Dervla, can you? Okay, Dervla, maybe you can, if you haven't got your paperwork to hand, do it over the break if you can. I want to talk to you after the break. Is when you raised or got the TD to ask these very serious questions of the Department of Agriculture, who are their hands are up in the air today, saying, "Oh my God, this is shocking." You say you raised questions about the number of horses in this slaughterhouse before. We'll try and get the exact dates off you after this break. Joe at RT.ie. Thanks.
Talk to Joe on 0818 715 815. Talk to Joe on 0818 715 815.
The place is called Shannonside Foods. Its address, as far as I can find a website this morning, but I could find an address, or the closest address was River Morel, Straffan, County Kildare. Now, down there at the moment is Chris Farrell. Chris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Tell us, where is Shannonside Foods? Say people who know the K Club or know that area.
Yeah, it's in Turnings in Straffan, which is about 2 miles from centre of Straffan village.
Okay.
On the Salon side of Straffan.
And is it can you see it from the road or the motorway?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh
okay.
yeah, you can't see it from the motorway. You can see it from the road.
Okay. Is there a sign? Is there a sign up saying Shannonside Foods?
Oh, a big sign at the entrance gate saying Shannonside Foods, quality Irish meats.
Is the word horse up there anywhere?
I don't think so. It just says Shannonside Food, quality Irish meats. I don't think it says horse per se.
Okay. Now you live beside it.
Yeah.
And you've complained, you say multiple times. Going back how long, Chris?
Well, not me personally, multiple times, but I know a lot of the neighbours here have complained over the years, going back many, many years to the DSPCA, the Kildare and Wicklow SPCA, the Department of Agriculture and ACE complained to them as well, and you never seem to get any follow up on it at all.
And do you know the nature of the complaints, Chris?
Well, to do with the condition of the horses generally. I mean, there's a paddock field behind us here, and we've at times seen horses in it that wouldn't be in good condition. There's a horse a few years ago, we saw a horse there, and obviously the horse hardly able to walk. Horses that are obviously undernourished, and their coats looking very ragged, and unkempt generally.
Okay, so it's not. You weren't complaining. Well, maybe people. It wasn't. The whole phrase O'Keefe's the knacker's yard, which it was called, that's their use of that was the sign on it. Up in New Street, the Liberties in Dublin, people used to always complain about the smell, the horrific smell. Is there a smell from the abattoir?
No, I'm not aware of any smell.
Okay, because the meat isn't rendered as such. It isn't boiled down, which was happening. That's when the smell emanates. But you're saying people in Straffan, where you live, have been complaining for a number of years about the condition of the horses that were in full view.
Yeah. On and off. I mean, that's not a regular.
Yeah, of course.
The reason I rang Joe is because I got the impression from what you said earlier that the abattoir was in full view of people in Straffan, and the impression I got was that nobody took any notice and didn't complain about it. They were turning a blind eye, which isn't the case, because neighbours, I know neighbours around here. I know individuals who have actually complained, and feel that they're not getting any feedback.
And it seems, Chris, from what you say, that they've complained to the right authorities, the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
And what do you know what response these good citizens got?
Well, as I said, they were told that, from what I can remember, that they would certainly follow up on it. They may have followed up. I don't know, but what consequences ensued from it? There's definitely nothing obvious, because things just seem to continue as normal. Now, I mean, there's regularly lots of horses in the field. There's a field in front of the abattoir and in the abattoir grounds itself, and a lot of the horses they would look to be racehorse type horses.
Something like 65% that end up in Straffan are thoroughbred racehorses. So they would, but and by the way, Chris, is the place busy? Do you see a lot of trucks coming and going, or a lot of cars, or a lot of?
Yeah, one of my neighbours would regularly see trucks coming in at during the night, coming and going during the night time.
So it's busy.
There are days when it's very busy. No, but there are days when it's very busy. I mean, I think on Wednesdays, as far as I know, sometimes they do the tilling or whatever, and you could see, I walk the dog in the morning time, and I've often seen 12, 15 cars outside the place. So it's obviously busy on the days when the slaughter happens, but then other days, you wouldn't see any traffic around the place. You would see the horses out in the field.
Apparently Wednesday is slaughter day.
Yeah, that would be consistent with what I would see, from walking around.
Obviously, they didn't show how the horses were slaughtered, but I presume...
No.
I don't know, how are horses slaughtered? Are they electrocuted? Are they
injected? I think they shoot them, or they shoot them sort of bolt in their head or something, back of the head or something, I think, I don't know, it's something I've never seen. Obviously, I haven't been inside the grounds of the abattoir, so I don't know what's going on inside.
Obviously, I don't want any names, Chris, but do you know anyone who works there?
I don't know.
You know the way you might say, well, hang on, it's a big employer. I'm sure it is a good employer. Can you see any horses there in the last day or two, Chris?
Oh yeah. I saw them this morning. There's a field in front of the abattoir, in front of Turning's house, and there's about, I'd say, 15, 20 horses in that. And there's another bigger field, and I saw there's about 4 or 5 grey horses in it, and a few other ones as well. So there's about a dozen horses. So there's about 20, 30 horses around at the moment.
Okay, and John Fitzgerald of he's an animal rights campaigner and the organisation against cruel sports. He said that they are going to organise a picket. Is there anyone at the gate at the moment of Shannonside Foods?
Well, I don't know just now, but I mean, there wasn't earlier this morning. Certainly, I haven't been down that road.
Any journalists, any activity at all? No,
it's not that I've noticed. No.
Okay.
No, I can't see.
I understand that. I understand.
Just around the corner from it.
Now, have you managed to look at the footage from Primetime Investigates?
Oh, I did. I watched it last night. Obviously, very interested in it when I heard what was going to be filmed.
And what did you think?
Like a lot of other people, I was totally appalled by what's going on.
Yeah.
Very, very upsetting to see that.
And by the way, you recognised Shannonside Foods immediately, I presume.
I did. Oh, I did. Yeah,
recognise the location. And because there is only one horse abattoir in the country.
Yeah. That's true, because I mean it's quite upsetting, because I mean I know the history of the place, and it was set up in the 1960s.
Okay.
By a relation of my wife to prevent the export of live horses to France and Belgium.
Okay.
And so it was set up from a humane point of view to stop horses being exported live.
Yeah.
And now it's in a situation where obviously horses are badly treated, which wasn't the purpose of setting it up at all.
Yeah, and then we saw Conor travelling across Europe. And the way the horses have been treated at various so-called resting points or whatever. And this is what they're, in fairness to her. I asked her a question, I don't know if she's still there, about when she put the questions to the minister, what year, and we'll get that information in a sec. But she said she's been asking these questions for a number of years about this abattoir, and many horses were being slaughtered. And then she'd walk backwards and she'd say, where are all the other horses gone? That was her. It was the dog. It was the hound of the Baskervilles. It was the dog that didn't bark. Where are all the other horses gone? Horses that we love. Stay with us, Chris, if you can. Stay with us, Chris, please.
Well, that was a bit of a revelation to me, because I was only aware of the problem with the horse abattoir itself. And obviously, our concern really is not the killing of horses, but I mean the humane treatment of horses.
Yes, I know.
That's the bottom line.
The world we live in, we know horses are killed and euthanized, but it's the basic treatment. Stay with us, Chris. Richie McCarthy.
Okay.
You're a cattle farmer, Richie.
Hey Joe, down here in Limerick. Like everyone's been saying, it was absolutely appalling what went on last night. But what you're missing there is, Joe, you've said it there to your previous caller, you mentioned it, that the slaughter is only on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the reporter last night that put the whole thing together, he said that all that preparation in the lairage was going on on the days leading up to the slaughter.
Okay.
So you're saying the vets have no access to that shed, that's correct, but on the day of slaughter there would be nothing going on inside in that shed as far as I can see. All that stuff would have been done the day before, because if there was a veterinary inspector on site and heard all that commotion, you can be sure they're going to take a stroll in there,
And Richie, what's a lairage?
It's a holding area, basically.
Okay.
It's a shade. It can be a field, a shade. It's a holding area before transportation or before slaughter, of animals.
And how,
pretty much.
Pardon the difficulty of this question, Richie, and I'm not that naive, but how are horses slaughtered? Are they stunned?
I personally haven't been in a horse slaughterhouse, but if you see last night at the very, very end of the show, the horse got a bolt to the head.
Yeah.
And the next thing you will see, if you want me to keep going, I can tell you.
Yeah, please do. We're talking about it now for 30 minutes. People know if they don't want to listen to this detail, they're long gone, and that's their choice. And if they don't want to hear this, we have to hear what's happening. So what happens next? A bolt to the head.
So pretty much in cattle circumstances, it's a bolt to the head, and that pretty much renders them unconscious. They'd be on the ground. There's a chain put onto one of their legs.
Yeah,
they're lifted up, and pretty much their throat is cut, and they bleed out, and then they go on for processing. I presume it's the very same way with horses, as far as I could see up to that point last night. It was the very same, and it's a ball to the head, and it's not pretty, but that's how it is. It's
I know.
It's end of life for the
world we live in.
Another thing, Joe, the department can shut a man like me down, a farmer, at the click of a mouse. for anything going wrong, like, a disease outbreak, or if I was seen to be mistreating animals, I can be shut down to click of a mouse. How they can shut these guys down, these two, is it Fitzpatrick's?
Well, their name was, they were named as well, yeah, the Fitzpatrick.
Well, they're the guys that own it.
Yes.
They're the guys that own it. Yeah, they should be tied together and bait with those.
No, well, you don't say that. But watch, like, it's also open to the owners of Shannonside Foods to say we will suspend operations until the department have completed their investigation. It's open to them to say it as well. That's all they have to do.
Why haven't the department closed them down if they have this information for the last month?
Yeah, well,
like they can shut anyone down at the click of a mouse from trading. Why can't these guys be shut down? They knew this was coming out last night. I presume the department were showing the whole thing.
Well, if you were watching RTE in the last 10 days, you would have seen promos for it. And the conditions of the Lairage were mentioned.
The conditions there were horrendous. The floor in the Lairage was not suitable for horses. I know nothing about horses, but I do know they're walking around with steel shoes on them. Yeah. Them floors were covered in urine and
you saw them slipping and falling, and
it was a pure disgrace. And they were trying to get them into that chute to read their microchips.
Okay.
They were all bloody numpties around them. If you funnel cattle or horses into a chute, they'll walk in there for you. They had no funnel set up. If you show them daylight,
why were they being beaten in with that big paddle or whatever you call it?
Because cattle do not like, or horses don't like going into confined spaces. But if you funnel them in and show them daylight at the far end, they will walk in themselves.
Okay.
Because they want to get away from you. But if they can't see a way out, they just want to turn back against you.
That's true.
So
what do you think should? What do you,
whatsoever.
Richie? What do you think should happen today?
Close them down. Just close them down. Lock the gates. Get them out. Close them down. Remove every animal there. Close them down.
And do you think, as John Fitzgerald said, they're going to try and organise a picket at the gate of animal rights, animal lovers? Well, everyone's an animal lover. Do you think that will make a difference?
They shouldn't have to go that far, Joy. Should we just close down? There shouldn't have to be a picket there. As I say,
but it's still open. But Richie, you have the minister who has the power, who has the department. But a lot of people argue the civil servants have the power. But the minister is saying this is unacceptable. That's his words. But if it's unacceptable, how come it's still open?
Exactly. Why can't he ring one of his merry men and get them to close it down straight away? The same as they would do with any other farmer.
Okay,
it might be the only place in the country for slaughtering horses, but that doesn't mean they can leave it open when animals are being mistreated like that.
But the world isn't going to come to a standstill, is it, if there's no horses slaughtered in the next month?
It's not.
Stay with us, Richie, if you can. Joe at RT.ie 51551. Dervla, did you manage to track down when you first asked these Dáil questions about that specific abattoir?
Yes, Joe, I did.
Tell us.
No. So in 2021,
wow,
the minister was asked by a PQ to give the slaughter figures, and he stated that the figure for 2020 was 1,549. He was asked the exact same question on the 11th of September 2023, and he gave a different figure of 1,497. He was asked again on the 12th of May 2022. Again, the figures didn't add up. And the most recent one, because when I sat down and looked at all the figures, on the 26th of September 2023, he was asked for the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Marine to provide clarity in relation to the discrepancies found in the figures provided by him in relation to thoroughbred slaughter figures in Ireland, and if he will confirm the reason for the differences in the figures, and if he will make a statement on the matter. So each time he was asked to provide the figures, a different figure was given. He's the head of the department. The figures should add up.
Yeah, but Charlie McConnell, who's been Minister for Agriculture since 2020, we can't expect him to go down to Straffan with a counter and start counting the horses. But he's given the answers, and a lot of work has gone into this. He's given the answers by his civil servants, and I presume they're being told in turn. But you're saying as far back as 2021. You had questions put down to the minister, the current minister, Charlie McConalogue, about this particular facility?
No, not about this particular facility. He was asked to give the figures for thoroughbred slaughter.
Yeah, but there is only one slaughterhouse in Ireland.
Well, yes, if you'd like to put it that way.
Yeah.
But he was also asked on June the 2nd, 2022, and he said, my department does not have nor hold information on animals once they move outside of Ireland. Once they arrive in the importing country, they are subject to the relevant rules applying in those countries. That's not good enough.
Okay, Dervalis, stay with us. Richie, stay with us. Chris Farrell. Chris, if you had any way in the break of finding out, even by texting somebody, when people complained about Straffan, how far back does anyone locally in Straffan remember that they lodged a complaint specifically with the Department of Agriculture? Joe at RT.ie.
Talk to Joe on 0818 715 815.
I'm told we have to suspend discussion of Shannonside Foods for the time being.